Welcome to Balanced But Barely, a podcast for anyone who looks like they have it all together, but internally has about 47 tabs open in their mind. I'm Carla Jean, and each episode we talk real-life stress, anxiety, and self-regulation in a way that actually makes sense. You'll walk away with practical tools to feel calmer, think clear, and create more balance without needing to hide underneath your weighted blanket by 2 p.m. The affiliate for today's episode is Find the Good, a clothing brand determined to spread love and awareness one awesome sweatshirt at a time. Please go check them out at findthegood.com and use promo code CarlaJean143, that's CarlaJean143, at the checkout for an exclusive 10% discount because you deserve it. So for this week's Balanced But Barely moment, I struggled with this one a little bit because I was so focused on gratitude with the birth of my first grandbaby that I don't think anyone could knock me off balance, even if they came at me with an army. So as I sit here to reflect on what to share with you, I keep coming back to the full moon event that just happened this week. So this week we experienced a blue moon, which is a second full moon in 1 month. And this only happens once every 33 months. So I think it would be safe to assume that the phrase once in a blue moon was originally meant as a measurement of time to indicate 33 months. Can we just agree on that? Okay. Nowadays, the phrase is used to convey an event or behavior that doesn't happen regularly or is more of a rare occurrence. On any given full moon, though, it is a perfect time to let go of patterns, behaviors, or even people that no longer are providing value to your life or your well-being. So this is just some background on full moons and the blue moon so you can see where I'm going. And I have a point, I promise. With the blue moon happening, it's an even more powerful and symbolic time to do this. So I took a really hard look at where I was 33 months ago, and then I compared it to where I am now. Was there anything I was still holding on to that wasn't in my best interest? And sadly to say, the answer was yes, 100%. Yes, there is one, and it's the same nonsense and the same song every freaking time. There it was, staring me in the face. My balanced but barely moment of the week. So first, I was annoyed with my friends. They don't know this. They're going to find this out during this podcast. First, I was annoyed with my friends because they've begun to lovingly point this out with a little more aggression than usual, which is their right to do so because they love me. But the little added extra spice to it was noticed. And then second, I was annoyed with myself for ignoring it for so long. And it wasn't that I wasn't aware of it. I just was ignoring the steps in which I needed to take to resolve the issue. Let's just say it that way. But that's it. There's not going to be a big confession. There's not going to be any details. And as of now, there isn't going to be any action taken. This is just an acknowledgement for you guys that even those deep into our healing journey, we still have blind spots. And my only hope, and I understand this is 100% up to me to make this happen, is that I am not in the same nonsense with the same freaking song at the next blue moon. Welcome back to Balanced But Barely. I'm Carla Jean, your host, and this is the podcast for people who spend half their life wondering if they were asking for too much and the other half wondering why they've settled for so little. I am so excited for this topic. Today, we're talking about audacity. The word itself makes some people uncomfortable because when we hear audacity, we tend to think about someone who's arrogant, someone who thinks a lot of themselves, someone who's loud, someone who's convinced that they're the smartest person in the room, someone who replies to an email per my last email and somehow still sleeps peacefully through the night. That's not the kind of audacity that we're talking about. I'm talking about the audacity to believe that your needs matter. Like, who are you to even think that your thoughts, your needs, your desires, your dreams should even matter? Like, right? Is that what you're thinking? Stop doing that right now. Just stop doing that. The audacity to take up space, the audacity to try something before you're completely ready, the audacity to stop apologizing for existing, the audacity to believe that maybe, just maybe, You deserve the same grace, the same opportunities, the same love, and the same support that you give everyone else. Holy moly. That last one is still really, really hard for me. My love language is acts of service. I will make myself uncomfortable. I will bend myself into a pretzel. I will make myself poor. Like I will spend my last dollar to help somebody. And then I turn around and I don't think that I deserve the same from somebody else. That's hard. That's really, really hard. Because if we're being honest, many of us have spent years waiting until we're more confident, waiting until we're less anxious, waiting until we're more qualified, waiting until we're more healed, waiting until we're absolutely certain. And while we're waiting, life keeps moving. Some of the biggest changes in my life didn't happen because I felt ready. As a matter of fact, most of the time I was like, okay, let's just see what happens. And everyone was holding their breath. They happened because eventually I got tired of letting fear make all my decisions. I knew that if I stopped long enough and started thinking about all of the things that could go wrong, I was not going to do it. I became the youngest bank manager in my early 20s because I had the nerve to think that I was deserving or smart enough to be a manager. I was right. I was deserving and I was smart enough to do it. But I had a lot of people look at me like, what the hell? And treat me like that. That wasn't very nice. And then there was not a yoga studio in my town that I connected with in a way that was meaningful. So I thought, hold this, let me go do it myself. And I went to Costa Rica and I got my certification. I came back and I was like, okay, let's do this. A year after I got some experience, I opened my own yoga studio. And a lot of people looked at me like, who do you think you are? Like, what business do you have doing this? And then at 40, I decided to go back to school and I finished my bachelor's and then I went on to get my master's. Totally changed careers close to 45, got into a career where I was responsible for writing legislation because I knew I was smart enough to do it. Then recently I made another huge shift and decided, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to take what I've known, learned, and painfully healed from, and I'm going to create another business. I'm going to create this lifestyle wellness business, and I'm going to share the darkest parts and the lightest parts of what I've gone through to help other people. So as I'm explaining this to you, you can see that when it comes to my career, when it comes to my business, when it comes to my intelligence, I don't lack in audacity. Zero. I don't have that lack of confidence there. Where I do lack audacity is in relationships. Friendships, I've gotten better at. I have gotten better at weeding out the friendships that just felt like I was being audacious for even asking them to come to me with an even playing field. But mostly it's in my romantic relationships. I struggle, and I don't think I'm the only one. I think, especially for women, I can't speak for men, but I think for women, the feelings part, we are taught to be small. We're taught to be less than. We're taught not to ruffle feathers, to not make a big deal about things, or we're being emotional, or we're being crazy, or we're being difficult. We start to learn not to expect and not to be audacious with our feelings and with our needs. And if you are someone who struggles with anxiety, people-pleasing, perfectionism, self-doubt, or feeling invisible, this episode is for you because we're going to be talking about why being seen feels so uncomfortable, why people pleasers struggle with audacity, the relationship between anxiety and self-trust, and how to start choosing courage before confidence. Not perfectly, not fearlessly, just one step at a time. All right, let's get into it. I think one of the biggest reasons people struggle with audacity is because being seen feels risky. Think about it. Most of us say we want to be seen. We want people to know us. We want people to understand us, to appreciate us. But being seen also means being visible. And visibility comes with vulnerability. Because once people can see you, they can judge you. They can disagree with you. They can misunderstand you. They can reject you. And for a lot of people, that doesn't feel uncomfortable. It feels dangerous, especially if you grew up in an environment where mistakes were criticized, where emotions weren't welcome, where achievements determined worth, where being different wasn't safe, or where you learned that keeping everyone happy was the best way to avoid conflict. Your nervous system is incredibly smart. Its job is to keep you safe. And if visibility once led to pain, your nervous system may have learned that staying small is safer. So now you might find yourself overthinking everything you say, replaying conversations for hours, hesitating before posting anything online, or posting it and then immediately deleting it, second guessing your ideas, taking yourself out of opportunities, or waiting until everything is perfect. Not because you're incapable, because your nervous system is trying to protect you. Perfectionism is often fear wearing a really expensive outfit. It looks productive, it sounds responsible, but underneath it is usually one question. What if people see me and decide I'm not enough? One of my favorite quotes from Brené Brown is, "Unused creativity is not benign." When we continually hide ourselves, hide our ideas, hide our gifts, hide our voice, it costs us something, because the parts of ourselves that want expression don't simply disappear. They wait. And sometimes they become resentment. They become regret. Or they become that quiet feeling that you're meant for something more. Here's what I've learned. Confidence isn't what makes people visible. Visibility is often what creates confidence. The people you admire, the people speaking up, sharing their ideas, starting businesses, launching podcasts, changing careers. Oh my gosh, am I talking about me? Just kidding. Most of them weren't fearless, guys. I wasn't fearless. I was just willing. I went with my gut. I was willing to take a chance. And that's the difference. You don't need certainty to begin. You just need enough courage to take one small step, and then another, and then another. Okay, do this with me. Take a slow, deep breath in and slowly let it go. And now ask yourself, where in my life am I hiding? Not because I want to, but because I'm afraid of what people might think. What dream? What goal? What conversation? My favorite, what version of myself have I been keeping small because visibility feels uncomfortable? Now place your hand over your heart. Take one more slow breath in and ask, what would one small act of courage look like this week? Not a giant leap, just one small act. One honest conversation, maybe it's one application, one post, one boundary, one step. Notice what comes up. Do not judge it, just notice. I started live selling on Poshmark, where I resell thrifted items that I hand curate in my style, natural fibers and just things that I like, to women all around the country who I have literally fallen in love with, because it is one of the most amazing online communities that I've ever experienced. But that's not the point of this story. The point of this story is that I get people asking all the time, how did you start? What did you do? How did you know what to do, when to do, and all this stuff? And the only advice, I do give some advice, but the best advice that I can give is just do it. Just jump in and do it. That is mostly how I've learned how to do a lot of the things that I learned how to do in my life. You have to have the courage to do it and to be seen, and it is scary. But second, you also have to have the courage to make the mistake. And for me, I think that's where my audacity comes in. It's that I don't jump into these things thinking that I'm perfect or thinking that I am the smartest one in the room, but I do have the courage to start it, and I have the confidence to know that I can do it. I think that's the other thing, the other missing piece that some people struggle with, is that they lack that confidence, that they're looking for an external voice to tell them that they're doing it right. and that they are valuable. And there is a place for that for in a support way. But for me, jumping into whether it's starting a business or going to get my master's or, moving, traveling alone, whatever it is, the first thing that I think of, or the thing that I never doubt, is my ability to do it. Now, I may make mistakes along the way, and that's part of it. You've got to learn. You're not going to be perfect, especially if it's something you've never done. I think that with Audacity and trying something new, whether it's going to your first yoga class or it's doing your first Poshmark live show, or it's, asking the cute guy out that you have a crush on, whatever it is, it's just believing that you can do it. It has nothing to do with believing that you'll be successful. That's a whole nother episode we will get to. But believing that you can do it. Mechanically, mentally, physically, you can do it. That is the first step towards having the audacity to think that you will be successful. So I wanted to give you guys a resource as we go through this episode. Kind of mentioned Brene Brown earlier. If this conversation is resonating with you, I highly recommend Brene Brown's book, Daring Greatly. I'm sure more than half of you have already read it or listened to it. But this book explores vulnerability, courage, and shame, and what it means to show up fully in our lives, even when there's no guarantees. Because the truth is, the goal isn't to stop being afraid of being seen. The goal is learning that being seen is worth it anyway. Now we're getting into the part of the episode that might make some of us want to slowly back out of the room, because I want to talk about the audacity to disappoint people. How dare you? Not to hurt people, not to disrespect people, not to become selfish, but to disappoint people. And if you're anything like me, or most of the listeners of this podcast, that can feel surprisingly uncomfortable, because many of us were raised to be helpful, responsible, reliable, let's see what else, accommodating, easygoing, the strong one, and the one who can handle it all. And while those qualities can be beautiful, they can also become our cages. Because somewhere along the way, many of us learned a dangerous equation. If people are happy with me, I'm safe. If people are disappointed in me, I'm bad. And why is that the problem? Because it's impossible to live an authentic life without disappointing someone. Let me say that again for the people in the back. It is impossible to live an authentic life without disappointing someone. Because every time you choose yourself, someone who benefited from the old version of you may not like it. Maybe it's setting a boundary. Maybe it's saying no. Maybe it's changing careers, leaving a relationship, starting a business, leaving a relationship, taking a weekend for yourself, leaving a relationship, resting, speaking up, changing your mind, or just how dare you have the nerve to grow. Someone somewhere will likely be disappointed. And that doesn't automatically mean that you've done something wrong, because one of the biggest mindset shifts I ever had was realizing someone else's disappointment is not always evidence of my failure. Sometimes it's actually an evidence of my growth. Let's talk about why this feels so hard. Many therapists describe people-pleasing as a form of the fawn response. Most people know about fight, flight, freeze, but few people talk about fawn. Fawn says, maybe if I keep everyone happy, I'll be safe. And for many people, that strategy works, especially in an environment where conflict feels unpredictable. The challenge is that what protected us then can limit us now, because eventually you wake up and you realize you've become fluent in everyone else's needs, but you've forgotten your own. You know what everyone else wants, what everyone else needs, what everyone else feels, and when someone asks you, what do you want? Your brain suddenly sounds like the dial-up internet. And if you are too young to understand that reference, Google it. The people in your life deserve a real relationship with you, not just the version of you that keeps everyone comfortable. There's this quote that I love, and it goes like this: boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. Think about that. Boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. Not just love you, but love you and me. That's audacity. The audacity to believe your needs belong in the relationship too. All right, let's do this together. Take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it for the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And now slowly exhale and ask yourself, why am I saying yes when I really want to say no? Where am I overextending? Where am I overgiving, overexplaining, overfunctioning? Another deep breath in. Hold for 3. 1, 2, 3. And exhale. And ask, what would honoring myself look like in this situation? Not the perfect answer, not the brave answer, just the honest answer. Notice what comes up. Your body often knows the answer before your mind does. If you're a chronic people pleaser, here's a practice that changed everything for me. Stop answering immediately. That's it. Stop responding to the text. Stop responding to the email. Just stop that immediate jump to respond. So when someone asks for something, instead of automatically saying yes, try saying, let me think about it. Or can I get back to you? Or I need to check my schedule. Give yourself some space, because sometimes the most audacious thing you can do is stop making decisions from guilt. Going through over a decade worth of therapy, I was taught how to set boundaries, because I wasn't taught how to set boundaries growing up. I suffered from childhood abuse, which huge violation of any sort of boundaries. Young adulthood was really traumatizing. Didn't have any boundaries in my marriage, and that was really, really difficult. And so as a 30, 40-year-old person learning how to set boundaries for the first time, there were people that have been in my life for decades, for a long time, that were used to me saying yes, or used to me being the scapegoat, or used to me being the punching bag, or whatever it is you want to insert there. And as I was learning how to set boundaries, my therapist gave me the best visual, because I'm a very visual person. And she said, think of boundaries like dance steps. Your relationship with, let's say, your partner or your siblings or your parents or your friends, it's like a dance. You know what steps they're going to take, and they know what steps you're going to take. The relationship works because you both do these dance steps. But when you start to set up boundaries, you're changing the dance steps. So the other person gets to decide whether or not they want to learn the new dance steps. And some people in my life really hated new dance steps. They kicked and screamed and walked away. Of course, it was all my fault. I was horrible. I was selfish. I was all of these things, because how dare I set boundaries in my life that were protecting my well-being and my happiness. So initially, when I set these boundaries and I established these new dance steps, some people stopped dancing with me. Let's just say it that way. Some people kept trying to dance with me, and they were basically stepping on my toes, or I was stepping on theirs, because we weren't doing the same steps. I had one set of people who learned the new dance steps, and we are dancing beautifully together these days. There are other people who tried to learn the new dance steps and decided they weren't for them. And then there were people who flat out just refused and made me the worst person. And so I actually have an estranged sibling who is one of those people who just flat out decided that it was not worth her time or effort to understand or learn these new dance steps. I am sharing because there might be people in your life that you are afraid to lose, or you think you shouldn't lose in your life, and you're willing to forego your boundaries in order to keep that relationship. And what I'm saying is, you got to learn the new dance steps, and you got to teach them to your people, and your people get to decide. You cannot force them to do the dance. They have to decide on their own. And some people are going to decide that they don't want to do that dance with you. They loved the old dance. They hate the new dance, and they are going to walk away from that. That is okay, because a couple things I keep telling myself is until they're gone, like passed away, no longer on this earth, there's still a possibility and still a chance that they may change their mind and they may come back and ask to learn those steps again. So there's always that hope. And also, it might be in their best interest to not be in this dance with me anymore either. And I'm not the person to judge that for them. And 3, I also know that it is in my best interest. It's not just for my own well-being, but it's also a good example for my son, my now grandson, those around me, that I love and value myself enough to honor these boundaries. So do not feel bad for setting boundaries and changing the dance steps in your relationships. I think this might be the most important form of audacity. The audacity to believe your life can be bigger than your fear. Because if you've experienced heartbreak, loss, trauma, illness, burnout, betrayal, oh my gosh, this list is so long, disappointment, you know what happens. Your world gets smaller, not physically, but emotionally. You stop expecting good things. You stop dreaming, you stop hoping, you stop imagining possibilities. Oh my gosh, you guys, when I got divorced from my first husband, he still had hope for love. Like, I'll just find my second love or whatever. Then I got married to my second husband, and that didn't turn out either. After that divorce, I was like void of hope. The trauma from the first one, the trauma from the second one, I stopped hoping and dreaming that I was ever going to find love or be in a healthy relationship because it just didn't seem possible anymore. So this is coming from a place of knowing this stuff that I'm sharing with you. You stop imagining possibilities, and it's not because you're negative. It's because you're protecting yourself. After enough disappointment, many people decide, if I don't hope, I can't be hurt. If I don't try, I can't fail. If I don't want more, I can't lose it. And that was me. That if I don't hope, I can't get hurt. And while that might feel safe, it's also incredibly limiting, because eventually you stop protecting yourself from pain and you start protecting yourself from joy too. One of the biggest lies anxiety tells us is prepare for the worst and you'll be safer. Like, if you just don't have high hopes and something good happens, then great, you'll celebrate it. But if you hope for something and it doesn't happen, then you're disappointed and you're sad. But how many times has worrying actually prevented a different outcome? Most of the time it steals today's peace. And I think many people listening right now have spent years proving they can survive. But survival and living are not the same thing. You know you're incredibly resilient. You've probably already proven that time and time again. Now the question becomes, can you believe something beautiful is still possible? Can you believe it's not too late? You're not behind. You haven't missed your chance. You don't need to become someone else to deserve good things. Because audacity isn't believing everything will work out perfectly. It's believing you're capable of handling whatever comes next. That's a huge difference. One requires certainty and the other requires trust. And trust is built on one choice at a time. Let's take another mindfulness moment. Go ahead and place both feet firmly on the ground and take 3 slow breaths. Now imagine yourself 5 years from now. Not the perfect version, definitely not the Instagram version, the authentic version, the grounded version, the version who trusted themselves more, the version who stopped waiting for permission, the version who took the chance. Look around their life and how do they carry themselves? How do they speak? How do they treat themselves? And then ask, what does that version of me want to know today? And make sure you're listening, because you might be surprised at the answer. The next time you catch yourself thinking, I could never do that, they're different than me, I'm not ready, or it's too late, replace it with this: why not me? not from ego, but from possibility. Because someone else being successful isn't evidence that you can't be. It's evidence that it's possible. Sometimes audacity begins with one simple question: why not me? I'm almost 50. I've had, I don't know, a dozen jobs, probably about four, maybe five set careers, a banker, a business owner. Oh my gosh, a candlestick maker. No, I'm just kidding. I wasn't a candlestick maker. There's still time. I've known all my life that I really wanted to run my own business. And when I opened my own yoga studio, I really thought that that was it. I loved it. I loved doing it. I loved teaching. I loved interacting with people. I loved meeting people's needs and meeting people where they were at. And then it fell apart. And mostly it fell apart because I was not the healed version that I needed to be to carry that weight of that responsibility. So it fell apart. It fell apart at a time where my second marriage fell apart. It fell apart when my son was getting ready to leave for college. It fell apart right before COVID, y'all. So, just to give you some perspective. And I had to take a temporary administrative assistant position. Didn't even know how to do the job, but I became very good at it. Thanks to YouTube. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to get my degree. Like 40 years old, I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to do this thing. My boss told me I did not have the personality to do this specific job. And I thought, first of all, I was like, how dare you? Second of all, I was like, watch me. Because then if you know me, I love to prove people wrong. And so I did. I went and got my degree. I went and got my master's, and I kicked ass at this new profession. For the next 5, 6 years, I rode the ladder straight up and did amazing, made a lot of money. And then I had the audacity to think, what if I did something else? What if I went back to this wellness, this lifestyle, wellness, mental health world that I'm so passionate about? And what if I did that? And that's what I'm doing, guys. This is living time. This is happening right in front of you. I've had the audacity to say, why not me? Why not me to run a lifestyle wellness brand that includes nervous system regulation and resets and mindfulness techniques to help anxiety, depression, and PTSD? Why not me to start a podcast and share my lessons and pain and purpose and give space for people to not feel alone and let them feel like we're figuring this out together, just like I say it at the end of every episode, because that is how we grow and how we are stronger is together. So this is me showing up in full audacity. I'm just like imagining myself right now in some sort of like superhero costume, like I'm Captain Audacity. So yeah. So I mean, to be determined, y'all, how this turns out, but this is me walking the walk and showing you that it takes courage, and then it also takes it just takes, I don't know what the right word is, but it just takes something. So before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a few resources if today's conversation resonated with you. So I've already mentioned the Daring Greatly book by Brene Brown, and you can listen to it. The library, you guys, is an excellent place to get these books free. The library also offers audio books as well that you can get on your phone or whatnot. So that would be a great place to go. Daring Greatly by Brene Brown, Setting Boundaries and Finding Peace is a really good book as well. And then The Mountain Is You is also a great book. I will link all of these in the show notes on carlajean143.com so that you can find them there. But additional support that could be helpful for you is try journaling, trying a mindfulness meditation, breath work, yoga, or any sort of movement. Remember though, you don't have to figure everything out alone. Before we go, I want you to think about this question. What would you do if you trusted yourself a little more? Not completely, not perfectly, just a little more. Would you apply for that job or that promotion? Would you ask the person out? Would you speak up? Would you leave? Would you begin? Or would you even try again? Because audacity isn't arrogance. Audacity is self-trust in action. It's choosing courage before confidence. It's choosing authenticity over approval. And it's choosing possibility over fear. The world doesn't need a smaller version of you. It doesn't need a quiet version of you or even a more apologetic version. It definitely doesn't need a version that waits until everything is perfectly ready. It needs the version of you that is willing to show up for yourself. The messy, imperfect human and brave enough to try it anyway. Maybe the question isn't, who am I to do this? Maybe the better question is, who am I not to? And that, my friend, is the audacity. All right, that's what I have for you today. If you're sitting there thinking, wow, I feel slightly called out, but also strangely empowered, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And then send this episode to a friend who needs a reminder that they don't need permission to take up space. You can connect with me on Instagram at _Carla Jean 143 for real life moments, encouragement, and behind the scenes. For more support, tools, and resources, including the show notes, head to carlajean143.com, and you can also follow me on YouTube at carlajean143. Until next time, take a deep breath, drink some water, and stop waiting for unanimous approval from people who aren't living your life. Remember, you don't need permission to become who you are meant to be. This is Balanced But Barely with Carla Jean Lundgren, and we are figuring this out together.